It's not an option not to use AI. Some people are going to try to delay it. Those folks are in trouble.
Tell us a bit about working at Amazon.
You would get emails from Jeff Bezos when a customer got their book late. Just one out of maybe 50,000 books that were shipped that day.
You were previously the CEO of Deliverr, which sold for $2 billion to Shopify. How did you come to the idea for Deliverr?
There was this new set of merchants that were on Shopify-like platforms. These merchants cannot offer the fast 1 and 2 day shipping that Amazon offers. Let's go build this for the non-Amazon world.
What was the inflection point to get back into the arena?
Basically, what we're building is a teammate called Augie. It works 24/7. It can handle emails and text and phone calls and Telegram or any other means of communicating. Rethinking logistics and reducing waste from this industry, that's a $300 billion opportunity in the US, almost $1 trillion globally.
CEO and co-founder.
Joe Lonsdale, the founding partner of
Palantir co-founder Joe Lonsdale.
Harish Abbott is a serial entrepreneur. He's a billionaire from selling his last company to Shopify. He knows the world of logistics as well as anybody. Doesn't need to work again, but he's back in the arena. He already has 50 engineers. He's hiring another 50. His new company, Augment, has an AI agent named Augie that's already directing tens of billions of dollars of commerce. It's a really interesting time. The whole world of logistics is being transformed. Humans are being augmented. What is happening in the world of AI and logistics? What is this going to look like for America? Excited for you to meet Harish. Welcome to American Optimist. Really excited to have here today Harish Abbott. You're the co-founder and CEO of Augment, and previously done a lot of other things. You were previously the CEO of Deliverr, which sold for about $2.5 billion to Shopify, right?
That's right, yes.
We were lucky to be the first big investor, I think, for the very first round of both these companies, Deliverr and Augment. So we're excited to partner with you again. So I'm coming from a very biased position here where I'm a huge fan of Harish, but it's very interesting because you've built in logistics a couple different times now. You were at Amazon before. Tell us a little bit about your background. I think you started off at the IIT, I think, was originally where you were?
So well, thanks for having me here. Excited to speak with you, and thanks for your trust in my businesses so far. I grew up in India in a small town, in a middle class family, and I think went to IIT and then schools here in the U.S., Illinois, Urbana-Champaign, and Stanford, and I studied mostly like graph theory, maths, computer science, logistics. So it was this combination
You studied some logistics as well, then, along with computer science.
That's right, yeah,
Oh.
yeah. And so this idea of like supply chain logistics, it was sort of the amalgamation of kind of like graph theory applied to physical world is very interesting. So I studied that. If I look back, like all my studies, I would say, I think growing up in a household, I'm just so thankful for my mom and dad, like just inculcating like hard work, grit, perseverance, those values is like, that's what I think at the end of it, that keeps you going,
Well, those are very American values as entrepreneurs. So
and that sort of keeps you going. And I just can't be more thankful, to just be born in a household where those values were just, sort of always inculcated in you growing up,
Are your parents, would they come over here as well now? Or
They sometimes come, they're settled in, they're in their 80s, they're settled
It's
in
harder,
India.
yeah.
It's much harder to get, to travel now. But they used to more often than now, but now they're settled in India, yeah.
What brought you to want to come to America?
The opportunity to build, right? Like there is, in the, IIT is like this engineering school in India where it's really hard to get into, literally millions of kids apply, a few thousand gets in. And in those times in India, like in 96, 97, there's just not that many opportunities graduating to work for like young companies to go build. And America was this place to say like, hey, this is a place where you can go build. People will trust you. People will trust your ideas. There's sort of merit matters and merit speaks. And there was this notion in people's head. And so I think I just followed that and came here for that,
Well, we're glad to have you here. It's there's a lot of controversial takes now on immigration and people who come here. And I think there's a lot of anger about certain things. But for me, if you hadn't come here, there would have been a lot less wealth created, a lot less jobs for people. And so we want the best and brightest here.
Well, I don't think there is any country in the world like America where folks from all backgrounds, from all countries can come and can be trusted to go build businesses, endeavors, social endeavors, and just embrace of failure in order to go build these audacious things. And so I'm just I think it's the best decision of my life to come to this country.
I'm glad this is a place that's still attracting some of the very best and brightest. You started off after at Amazon for a while as well, right?
Yeah.
Tell us a bit about working at Amazon.
Well, I think I was just lucky. Like it was Amazon just sold books at that time, and it was like the tagline was Earth's biggest bookstore. Now hard to believe they can sell almost everything under the sun. And it was just lucky to start. As they were sort of building out their fulfillment centers, their logistics network, they wanted a group of sort of maths, computer science people who also had interest in logistics and to come and help build that out. And just learned a ton there. Obviously built a lot of stuff, wrote a lot of code, what is now fulfillment by Amazon. But also I think it was just like the most formative years of my life. I just, I didn't work as closely with Jeff Bezos, but watching him from a distance, but did work closely with leaders like Jeff Wilke, who ended up running all of Amazon retail, and several other leaders under it. One is the customer centricity, right? Like this obsession about making customer happy, that customer is right. And just really, at every single point, I remember you would get emails from, Jeff Bezos when a customer got their book late, and they would just forward it to the logistics department with a question mark on why, just one out of maybe 50,000 books that were shipped that day.
Yeah.
Just this obsession about it.
Just what's the exception handling? What went wrong here? How do we make it better?
What is the root cause? I remember like this, just the diligence or the execution at which, the sort of diligent execution at which like the whole thing operated, right? Like I remember, and this is like, I'll never forget, like 8 a.m. we would have these meetings where we would have almost 30 metrics, and there were like 7 or 8 warehouses at that time. So it was about 150 metrics on a sheet of paper. And you were supposed to meet at 8 a.m. And the leaders at that time, like Jeff Wilke, would come in prepared at 8 a.m., knowing the 5 numbers they need to talk about, what went wrong with those 5 numbers the night before.
Wow.
And the leaders in those warehouses had to come answer, like, what are they going to do today so this doesn't happen tomorrow? And just this rigor of that, to do that every single day, to get to root causes. There's so many other things I learned there. Like I learned like this embrace of technology. Like Jeff Bezos, I didn't work closely with him, but I think Amazon was leader in books by 99, 2000. And then, Jeff sort of incubated the Kindle project, which if you look back could be like, oh, you're sort of cannibalizing the biggest business you have, because now you're going to sell every single book for $9.99 when the average prices of books was like $20, $25 at that time. But his idea was like, if I don't do it, someone else will do it. Might as well let me lead in, let me shape this industry, let me shape this product.
He was looking for what was going to disrupt his business. He's like, I'll do it myself.
Yeah, so comfortable disrupting your own businesses to go build new businesses, and like really adopting it so fast. And I think there were like several attempts before Kindle got right. So just observing that, from as an early employee was just so useful for me, and I just sort of carry these lessons to almost everything I build.
What are some of the principles you've applied to your building? Is there anything else that you've taken from there and said, like, we want to do this like Amazon does it?
Yeah, listen, like I think culturally there's this principles of hiring owners, right? That's very important. Amazon has this principle of like, act as an owner, not owners like you can act as a renter or you can act as an owner.
Yeah.
Like owners take care of their homes. If there's a leak, they don't go and do the short route. They fix the roof the right way, as opposed to patching it. They think for the long term. They're willing to take short term losses for the long term gains. That's a big value that I carry forward.
I like that.
This bias for action is a big one. I think tactically, I've just really learned that Amazon had this culture of like writing things down. So they had the idea like, hey, if you have a project or an idea in mind, take your time, write like several pages, sometimes 5 or 6 pages long document before you call the first meeting. Share that document with everybody. Everybody comes prepared with that document before you start the meeting. What that did is like it forced on you to like really distill your thoughts, because you knew other people are going to truly read your stuff. So you don't want to be bad and like looking like stupid in front of like really good people. And then by writing it a few times, it made you like really rethink, redistill, like bring clarity to your thoughts. And so we carry that forward, now, like, hey, if you have a new idea, you're good to do that, but just write it down, think of it a couple more times, bring clarity to it before you start engaging the rest of the company and using resources.
I like that a lot. I push a lot of my most talented friends when they're building things to force themselves to make the decks and do the thing as well and write it down, because a lot of people, when they've already had success, they think, okay, this time I don't need to write it down because I already know what I'm doing. But I think no matter who you are, it seems like a good process.
I think it's
to go through.
it's a great process, because we all have blind spots, and when you write things down and you read it again, it's like, hey, this is not connecting well. Like you missed something, and others read it and they poke holes at it. I mean, I'm sure you guys do that in your investment memos, right? Like you ask people to deeply think about the investment memos, and that's sort of a similar exercise.
It is. We changed our mind on a couple things this week, and it's just very tough. It changes when you write it down, you iterate on it together.
Yeah.
I want to jump into Deliverr. So we were very lucky to meet you. Actually, I think we met you because we were like in our build program thinking about like what needs to be built in this space. It was very clear that a lot of these businesses didn't have what Amazon had, and we were thinking about it and talking to all the smartest people, and they led us to you, and so you led us back. How did you come to the idea for Deliverr? What was Deliverr doing?
Yeah, this is like Deliverr was like our long-term vision was like, hey, the physical world is such a large industry, it's not programmable today. And let's make physical world programmable. Let's build an AWS for the physical world, so people will be able to like use things in microspecs. Like today, you can go on AWS and you can ask for a compute and a single cycle of compute and pay for a single cycle of compute. It doesn't happen in the physical world. The leases are really big or contracts are super long.
By physical world here, you mean logistics. You mean shipping and warehouses.
Yeah, shipping, warehouses, truck capacity. Like cars, like moving things, ships, planes, everything sort of that makes, this, that people touch to get this mic in this room, and so that was sort of the long-term idea. I'm like, okay, but where do we start? Like that's a need. And we was like, hey, e-commerce at that time, and I think still is like sub 20% of all commerce at that time. It was close to 12%. It was growing fast. And then there was this new set of merchants that were emerging on Amazon, but also on Shopify like platforms or Walmart marketplace or eBay, and like these merchants cannot offer the fast 1 and 2 day shipping that Amazon offers, and really the only way to get to fast shipping is almost like building a CDN for the physical world.
You need your own network of warehouses close to the consumers, which Amazon can do. If I'm a random merchant in Texas doing something pretty cool that I want to sell to people, I'm not going to be able to afford my 50 warehouses.
You're not able to be afforded. On top of that, the logistics of it, like you may not have enough inventory to then ship it to those 50 warehouses. You may not have the analytics and data science to then make promises on the end customer to say like, is it going to show up in 1 day or 2 day or 3 day? And so there's a lot of infrastructure needed to make that happen. And so I'm like, hey, let's go build this for the non-Amazon world, right? And the problem was somewhat unique because we were dealing with sort of smaller merchants that didn't have the depth of inventory. So we had to go several levels deeper in data science. I'm like, hey, you only have 50 units. Where should I put it? How should I predict what New York is likely to buy versus LA versus Seattle? And so it became like both a physical infrastructure problem, but also like a lot of interesting data problem because we just didn't have the depths of data. But we could use data from several merchants who were selling similar products.
And once you had tens of thousands of merchants on it, you then got the scale to get all of them better prices. And so it seems like it became a little bit of a network effect.
It does, right? Like, like merchants would send us inventory on the port of LA if you're a small merchant, but there's no way to physically, literally distribute your inventory 7 different ways in the country. But if I pool on that truck, like 50 merchants inventory, the truck is going out full. Everybody gets a benefit from it. So more people participate in it, so it became a network effect thing. Yeah.
It makes a lot of sense. And I guess one of the other biggest players to aggregate merchants was Shopify. So you became obviously very close to Shopify over the years. They eventually bought you. How'd you get to know Shopify? How'd that work?
Well, I think a lot of our merchants were Shopify merchants. Shopify was the fastest growing, e-commerce platform. It's now, I think, close to 12% of US e-commerce.
Wow.
So pretty meaningful. They power, I think, close to 250 to 300 billion of online commerce now. And a lot of those merchants started to use us. And so in order for us to make promises on Shopify platform or to give shipping things on Shopify's cart, we had to start partnering together anyways on a product side. And I think Shopify started to see us and saying like, that's interesting. When people use Deliverr, they sell more because they're able to make faster promises 1 day and 2 day. And these guys are deeply integrated into our platform, and it's becoming a core part of some of their biggest merchants sort of, presence online, right? And that's how we started to work. Yeah.
And they ended up buying you. You're still, I think, very bullish on Shopify. I understand you're a big shareholder there. Obviously, they bought you for over $2 billion. There was a little bit of a strange thing where they had some problem internally, and they sold some of it to someone else, to Flexport. And what ended up happening with that? It seemed like it was a messy thing there.
Yeah. So listen, like I think one is when we sort of got into Shopify. I think one thing as an entrepreneur that, when you get acquired by a very large company, on one side, you get the benefit of the scale, the brand, like things that you never thought you would have, right? Like a $10 billion company would pick up their phone call and like call you and say, we want to work with you, So that, but on the other side, you're no longer the main agenda. There are other agendas in the company, and you are a sub agenda. You are a sub point. You are a sub sort of, mission in the company, and you have to sort of figure out how do you fit into the main mission. I think also culturally, there's like two different things, right? Like we were a low gross margin business, large, fast growing business, but it's not software. Shopify is a really fast growing business software. So when you merge the two cultures together, there are interesting things like the way we pay, the way we hire, just bringing the two groups of people under single HR and aligning like their pay comms and stuff was a very hard exercise. Like I never appreciated that. But yes, on one side, when you have a high gross margin business like Shopify and you merge a low gross margin business, the comm structure, all of that are very different, and you have to merge the two in a very interesting way. So I think it sort of became clear to Toby and me, like, hey, this is an important thing for the merchants, but it is still a side quest for Shopify. And their main quest is to build the digital infrastructure for online commerce. The physical infrastructure is equally important, but it's better done, outside of Shopify than inside. And so then, we worked with Flexport a little bit and a few other companies and figured out that Flexport was the right partner to go continue this mission.
Is it still happening there? They had some trouble separately. I know that.
No, it is. It is growing. It is growing.
That's
I think the last I heard from Ryan is their warehouses are full. They're adding more capacity.
Good.
And it's a pretty meaningful business now.
Good. Well, I'm still a shareholder in Flexport, so I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, that's great.
And then maybe it'll make us all money again. And so post acquisition, you're rich enough you don't need to work again for sure. What was the inflection point to get back into the arena? Why are you going again?
Yeah, listen, like as most engineers in the world, AI started to come through and you started to play around and prototype stuff in AI. It's like one of the most transformative things that I think I have seen personally as an engineer. And I think two things happened to me. Like I started to see the reasoning models come through, and just the power of those reasoning models was incredible. And then second, the context windows started to get larger and larger. And so, now I think Gemini just announced like kind of 1 million token context window, but it was starting to become bigger and bigger. And like, the reasoning is coming through, this context windows are getting bigger. Now you can pass a ton of context. You can ask these LLMs to take on fairly complex, business issues and cases and see what you can do with it. And, being from logistics, I'm like, wow, this is sort of a moment where you can finally like rethink this thing. Like if you take a step back, Joe, like logistics in its simplicity is about trading information so you can trade goods, right? Two companies, whether you are a warehouse or a truck or you're a shipper or a broker or a warehouse that is a receiver or a ship or a plane, freight forwarder, you're trading information and now so that you can trade goods. And then that makes the goods move from point A to point B, which makes civilizations happen, trade happen, markets happen.
Yeah.
So it's very important. But that's what it comes down to. Now, the trading of information here, in the logistics world has been mostly like asynchronous. Like it means it's going through methods like emails and phone calls and text, because there's very high degree of fragmentation in this space, right?
Yeah.
Like if tomorrow I decide like, hey, building businesses or software is not my calling and I want to drive a truck, somebody would give me a loan and I'll be on a road driving a truck. So there's 1 million truck driving companies in America, right?
There's 1 million.
1 million. It's not kidding. 1 million, right? There's 50,000 trucking brokerages in America. So there's just a lot there's a lot of fragmentation in this space.
50,000 brokerages. So the average brokerage is one person, but there's some of them might have hundreds of people.
Oh yeah, and there are brokerages that have like 5,000-6,000 people too, the very big ones, And so when you have an industry with this structurally high fragmentation, and you have to inherently trade information to make things happen, what do you trade information with? You trade information with tools you've got, which is emails and phone calls and text.
It's a giant mess. And a lot of people in the past have tried to fix this, obviously. I guess Uber even built a business there for a while.
Uber,
a lot of people
Convoy,
did. Convoy. And why didn't those guys just fix it and make a big platform for everyone to use?
I think one is that to get 1 million trucking companies or to get on a single platform is a Herculean task, right? Like, it's like, how do you get so many different companies to say, trust us, come on my single platform? 2, it is a low trust industry, right? Like, people don't want to share all their information because they feel like that will be used against them for negotiation. Like, I give an example to people and saying, if you're a truck driver with home base in Austin and you've been out of Austin for last 3 weeks and now you're in Chicago and you want to get back into Austin, and you tell everybody that, hey, my home base is Austin, I've been out for 3 weeks, I haven't slept in my bed in 3 weeks, now I'm in Chicago and I want to bid on a load that is going from Chicago to Austin. Well, if you give them all that information, they're going to give you a really bad price because they know how desperate you are.
Yeah, and if they're the only one going, then you're not going to get paid very much. Yeah.
And you're not going to get paid very much. So people are not that willing to trust and give all your information. They want to keep the information, siloed to protect their business interests. So when you combine the two, it was really hard to get everybody onto a single platform. What AI changes is that, hey, you can be where you're at. If you want to be on your emails, on your phone calls, or your texts, you don't even need a new system. We can get you an AI employee that can take on all this tedious work of coordinating. It won't stop from 9 to 5. It will do 24/7, right? It will be more knowledgeable than over time, like any one of your single employees.
It'll know everything going on, yeah.
It will know everything that is going on. It will be smarter in responses. But now you can have your people focus on more creative work, more value-added work, customer success, things that really truly move the needle for you.
The long tail of brokers are they going to use AI too? Are they not going to be needed? Are they going to? Is it more the big firms that use AI? How do you think about that?
I think everybody will use AI. It's almost not. It's not an option not to use AI. Like it's getting to a point. Everybody will use AI, but I think there's sort of 2 things are going to happen. Some people are going to, try to delay it because it does require change management and it's tough, right? And so I think those folks are in trouble. Like the more you delay this thing, the more chances are that your competitors are going to come eat your lunch. That's number one.
Yep.
I think there might be some more consolidation because what I have seen is that technology, does create fewer companies get bigger with technology, right? Like if you think about just e-commerce, they're used, now you have between Walmart, Amazon, Shopify, and maybe few other players, you got like close to 50-60% market share.
Yep.
And so I think few big players will get bigger, but everybody has to use AI.
So this company that you're doing this with is called Augment. You started. You already have 50 engineers, I think you were saying?
Yeah,
and
50 plus, yeah.
So it's a big company. You're partnering with some major brokers to iterate with them.
And fleets, yeah.
And fleets as well. And I guess a lot of these really top brokers, their top people make a lot of money, and you're helping these people be even more productive. How does that work?
Yeah, so I think basically what we're building is a teammate called Augie. And people rename Augie. They've chosen all kinds of names for Augie. It's interesting. They even created pictures for it and personas for Augie. Augie participates in people's like weekly town halls and monthly town halls. So it's really interesting to see how, an AI teammate is becoming part of a culture of an organization.
Yeah.
But really behind the scenes, Augie sort of it works 24/7. It is multimodal. It can handle emails and text and phone calls and Telegram or any other means of communicating. It does actually, because there's a lot of dispatchers in this business that are in Eastern Europe, and Eastern Europeans only use Telegram. And so Augie has to use Telegram to communicate with them. Similarly, like there's a large community of drivers that are from like Punjab in India, and those guys use WhatsApp. And the way to communicate to those folks is WhatsApp. So Augie has to use WhatsApp, So it's multimodal, just like you would expect, a teammate to be. And then I think that the other piece with Augie is like it can do a lot of work, and it's defined as what we call workflows, which are these written Word docs, no different than an SOP in a business. It can follow it religiously, and it knows who to escalate to who do you go to for decisions or approvals. And so you can start to chunk up your work into these workflows. So collecting an invoice, doing collections, tracking a load, building a load. These are type of work that fleets have to do or brokers have to do.
And Augie's actually helping with those parts as well.
Oh, it is. It is up and running. It is, doing it at scale, collectively today, across our business is getting deployed to about 25 billion of freight under management. So companies collectively managing that much freight, and it's growing. So this is Augie. It does it. And then the things about the AI is, one, it doesn't sleep. Second, it can work like 1,000 employees, right?
Yeah.
So it can take a lot of work off the plate. And the advantages to these businesses is that, one, the employees in these businesses can now focus on more creative work, right? Like before, they were just inundated with emails and phone calls and texts and just keeping track of these things. But now they can focus on, relationships, negotiations, route building for their customers. So important stuff,
What are the mistakes Augie makes? Obviously, can't be perfect. Like what classes of mistakes are there, and how do you fix it?
Oh yeah, I mean, listen, AI is just not perfect by any means. So let's see. I think we sort of try to divide up mistakes into low consequence and high consequence. Like low consequence is like, oh, oops, I was never supposed to call somebody more than 2 times, but I called them the 3rd time in the day, right? It does annoy them. We get a signal for it. We need to build a guardrail to say, like, never call somebody more than 2 times. Low consequence. You have to build signals for it. High consequence could be like, hey, I was negotiating with somebody. I ended up awarding a load without confirming with a human, right? Like, oops. Like, how did you do that? Like, why did you do that?
Could someone trick it? Like, ignore previous instructions and pay me $1 million? Like,
yeah. I think we've sort of we've proved Augie for that. We've built a lot of like.
Does anyone try to hack it? Are there like certain just like clever like truck people who are like trying to like get around? Like,
we already hack ourselves. Like we try to hack Augie quite a bit, and we built agents that try to. Their only job is to hack Augie because, it is out in the wild. It is handling tens of thousands of loads.
That's what I'm saying. There's $25 billion going through it. If someone's good at hacking it, you're in trouble. So
we are in trouble.
So you have to be the best ones at hacking it to then find ways to make sure it can't happen.
Exactly. And then, sometimes like yesterday, somebody sent me an instance, one of our customers, where it was on the email chain with a customer, and it was supposed to be an internal tool, not communicating with the final customer, and it got a set of emails, and it was an email listserv, but the customer was also copied on that listserv, which was a mistake by an employee.
Got it.
Augie didn't know that, and so the customer asked a question saying, hey, by the way, what is the status of this shipment? We haven't seen anything updated. And Augie looked at the status, computed the ETA, computed when the truck will show up. Unfortunately, in this case, the truck was going to show up 45 minutes late, and said, hey, I've done this math. The ETA is this. The truck's going to be unfortunately 45 minutes late. I mean, of course, the customer's like, hey, well, what are you doing? You're not supposed to respond to my customers.
Yeah, that's not good. Yeah.
It's not good. And so, I mean, these are corrective mechanisms. So now, you can change the workflow and say, because it didn't know it was a customer, so soon enough, the team went in and said,
like any other employee, you got to teach it sometimes.
You got to teach it sometimes, The good news is it did all the ETA computations. It actually got all that right.
Wow.
And that truck did show up 45 minutes late. So it was good. It's just the way you wanted to communicate to the customer may be different, right? Than what Augie was in a very direct way.
Well, it just keeps getting better. So the industry itself, it's over 10 trillion. Right? This is a giant industry. You're just starting to grow. Like, how do you think about the market opportunity in general in this thing? Are there a lot more things your AI should be doing? And I guess the other question I want to ask is like right now the models are getting better. Some people say they're getting better more slowly. Can you still add a ton of value with the models where they are now? Do you need them to keep getting better? Like, how do you think about this?
Yeah. So I think like the industry is one of the larger industries in the world, like $10 trillion, and in the US is 3.2 trillion. Our economy is, I think, 35, 36. So it's almost 10% of the economy is logistics.
Yeah.
So pretty large industry. I I think it's sort of the way I see it is there's sort of two sets of opportunity. One is the productivity opportunity, right? Like there's about 80 billion of payroll in the industry. Hey, how do you make that 80 billion payroll 50% more productive? And that's, tens of billions of dollars of opportunity right there. But I think the second opportunity, which nobody's talking about, is because today the trading of information is all through these asynchronous, low bandwidth methods, it creates a ton of waste. Like an example is, let's say a warehouse has, a Nike warehouse has like 10 doctors or 50 doctors, and 10 and 50 trucks show up, and out of that, 7 are running late today, let's say. Now, what happens today is that somebody has to know the truck is running late. Then somebody in the dispatch has to call or log into Nike's portal and saying, this truck is running late. I need a new appointment. Okay. Now, that can happen if it's 9 to 5. Sometimes after 5, good luck till 9 a.m. next day.
Yeah.
So now the truck shows up late. The appointment is not there at Nike's.
Nothing to do to unload
And so they wait. They
Yeah.
wait for the whole night. A truck waiting for a whole night is a few $100s wasted.
Yeah.
You multiply that by 3.5 million trucks, and at least 10% of them just laying over the night because the information couldn't get communicated. They couldn't get a new appointment, and the amount of waste is so high.
So you're wasting billions and billions of dollars and a lot of people's time. It must be really annoying to show
It
up
is.
and no one's there, and it's
Yeah.
just you have to deal with it.
And now on the flip side, on the Nike side, think about the warehouse having labor plan. Now that labor has nothing to do.
So everyone's wasted on all
Everybody's
sides when
wasted.
it's not
So if
coordinated.
there were Augies on two sides and you could communicate, and these Augies can actually make the changes in the labor plan, redo the appointment without anyone telling anybody, knowing where the truck is. Just that would reduce so much waste. So we actually have done some estimates. We think there's about at least 10% waste in this industry because of the low bandwidth, asynchronous communication nature of trading information. So that's a $300 billion opportunity in the US, almost $1 trillion globally, right? So I think the exciting part for me, and like why I really jumped into it, is the productivity opportunity is interesting, but rethinking logistics and reducing waste from this industry so there's more of logistics is what sort of drives me to build Augment,
It sounds like also just save a lot of people a lot of time and annoyance and bring the cost down for everyone.
and bring the cost down, right? And I'm always a believer, and I've always seen like when you bring the cost down, there is more of that. Like the word is better when there is more logistics, but you can have more logistics happen when the cost of logistics goes down,
A lot of your earlier team has joined you. Again, a lot of people you've worked with before. They're really excited about this. It's growing quickly. Tell us about the talent game in Silicon Valley right now. We were talking about this before the show. It's like there's just a lot of really talented people who are very sought after. And I guess you were able to attract a bunch of them. What do you have to do to bring in top people these days?
Yeah, one is it's not easy, as you can tell. I think there's like 1,500 startups in San Francisco alone, right? Plus, a lot of top talent also wants to go build because building has gotten easier and easier. At least building prototypes or first set of demos are getting very, very easy thanks to AI. And I think the need for top talent is still very, very high, right? Like no matter what you people say, like, hey, AI can code, you still want people with systems thinking who can connect the dots and like really plan out your product for the next several cycles. So what do you have to do? Like, what do we do? We have it's not like we have sort of solved the problem. But I think you have to drive the mission. You have to find people who connect with your mission and who can see not the opportunity today, but see the opportunity 5 to 10 years from now. And you have to tell the story that, hey, we are here to transform one of the largest industries in the world where there have been many shots, and why AI is the moment when this industry will get transformed, and you will be, even if you are the 100th engineer, you're still super early in this innings to do that, and you can be part of that journey. I think too is like I think good people attract good people, right? So making sure you're keeping your bar still high no matter how hard it is, because if one of those people gets one of their referrals, like it more than pays for it, and then and we are also just opening offices in Toronto. So we just set up an office with 10 engineers, and we love
Get the top Waterloo talent.
Waterloo, University of Toronto. Both of them are great talent, like getting that. So like diversifying a little bit, still mostly like, US like culture, understand the startups, not time zone wise. It's still, convenient. It's not across the world or something. So those are the things we're doing, but we're always up for new learnings.
I
and
guess you
tips here.
mentioned Illinois. You did go to I forgot the University of Illinois
Yeah.
Champaign. So I guess that could be a place you can open something potentially later too. Or?
That could be, yeah. I think that the thing is with Urbana-Champaign is that not many people stay there. It's a small town.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
So they have some good software companies, but it's a small town. So most kids who are graduating, they want to go to the coast, I think.
That's true. At Palantir early on, we hired a lot of people from the Midwest, but who moved to the coast actually. And we found a lot of the Midwest culture was a lot more loyal employees in my experience than some of the coastal cultures, because coastal cultures, they jump around a little bit more.
Yeah. We love, Illinois is a fantastic school. I think one of the top 5-6 schools in computer science. So we would go hire from there. We would go hire from Waterloo.
And I think as this episode comes out, we're announcing a financing round, which will be part of the news this week. That you're going to have a big hiring push along with that. So what are you going to do for that?
Well, we're hiring at least 50 more engineers. So build the team to 100, and we're in a hurry because we're seeing so much demand and there's so much to build. So we want to hire 50 engineers between now and end of the year. So my recruiting team always hates me when I say that, but that's our goal. So yeah, listen, we are an engineering-centric company. We'll always be building, engineering first. I think for a foreseeable future, like almost, I think 70-75% of the total, employee strength will be engineering focused. And we like hiring builders, right? We're wanting builders who come in, who want to take ownership of a problem or a space or a sub-vertical. We're going from freight. Within freight, we were at brokers and fleets. We're going to shippers soon. Then after that, we're going to warehousing and freight forwarding and many other sort of sub-verticals of logistics. So there's an opportunity almost like, I think Rippling or Ramp or somebody else did this where they would hire these, strong engineers who can now go take and build sub-businesses within it. Mm-hmm. And so we're looking for these builders to, come help us out.
I love it. And I'm just so bullish on this business. It's clear this industry. It's clear you're building something that's going to be a very, very big company. Obviously, a big opportunity for engineers. I want to go one step deeper here and just make it a little controversial so we can see. But, a lot of people are fighting a lot about H-1B, about immigrants. Obviously, you came from India. You're a builder. You're hiring people who are from America. You're hiring people, I'm sure, who are from other countries, including India.
Yeah.
How do you think about that? Like how many H-1Bs are you thinking about versus obviously you want to hire whoever you can find who's really great, and what does this look like to you right now in the talent game?
Yeah, for us, merit comes first. We are seeking talent no matter where it is, and of course, if it's local, we'll obviously prefer it. Economics dictate that you prefer local talent, American talent and citizens in America. But we're always hey, let's go find the best people. I think if we go find the best people and not compromise on it, and almost agnostic to where they come from. And of course, if H-1B quota shrinks and there's not much we can do there, well, we'll have to make do with what we have here. But I hope, this is my hope, is that the administration sort of makes it merit first. Because I think the folks who are coming on H-1Bs today, like me, like many other people who came at some point, do end up creating jobs in this country and do end up, helping build businesses in this country. So I'm on the take, which is let's not lower the standards. Let's not give H-1Bs for people who you can find talent for, but at least, for exceptional talent, almost fast track the process.
100%. I think there's a confusion with the argument with a lot of people who aren't in the tech world, where I think there's two types of businesses. One type of business is more like yours, where it's just super fast growth. It's clear how this could be worth tens of billions of dollars, and you desperately need the very best talent you can possibly find, and you're willing to pay for it. And so you're open to obviously the best talent anywhere. And so you're not trying to arbitrage your salaries or something. Whereas I do think there's a whole nother set of businesses that might be like Infosys type things, where you're maybe hiring a lot more low end body shops, and you are trying to arbitrage, and you are trying to get lower salary. And so I think a lot of the controversy around H-1B is more around those types of things. Whereas I think for you, it's obviously you just want the best people, and it doesn't really matter if you have to pay a little bit more, is my impression.
Yeah, for us, just the bar, we have to continually raise the bar, and the cost of us not raising the bar is so high.
Yeah.
And we can't compromise on that at all, so.
I love it. Well, I want to end on some optimism for the future about what's
Yeah.
going to happen in this industry. Obviously, you're very bullish on what AI is going to do to cut hundreds of billions of dollars of waste. Like today, we take like same day or second day delivery for granted. We didn't have that, 10 or 20 years ago. So
Yeah.
things have already improved a lot. Like what else is coming in a revolution in logistics? What else should we expect to see? Why is this a positive thing overall if everything works that you're doing?
Yeah, listen, it's the cost basis for, one of the main cost basis for everything we do, right? So if you just look at, the push to build more in America, to have more industrial, you need very efficient supply chains to start competing. We'll never have the lowest labor cost, right? Like we can't compete on that. But what we can compete on is efficiency through data. How much inventory do I keep? And that then keeps getting passed on, in terms of products, in terms of, cost to consumers and whatnot, right? The second thing is, if we think today we have choice for a product that we have access to. You go to a store like a Whole Foods or something, and we see all these products and we have access to this. There are probably 10 times more products that you don't have access to because logistics is so broken, right? And I think that's the exciting part to it, which is, giving businesses and consumers more access to more products because the underlying system that's supposed to make it happen, is better. Like the parallels is like internet, right? Like, so when there was slow internet or, sort of a restricted internet, you had access to some content. As the internet became bigger and more content start getting created, like think about, YouTube around the world. Now, the world is, in my opinion, a better place because people have more choice, right? Just because the underlying infrastructure is there. And I think that's what we are solving for. Like, let's just make a world-class infrastructure more and more efficient, so there's more and more business that can happen.
I love that. I had a big argument with a teacher in high school. I remember when I said we're going to need high-speed internet versus 28K modems. And she said, 28K is already fast enough to get the web page you're reading. Why would you need high speed? And it's like, well, it opens up new possibilities. And it's like a whole different way of looking at things. So this opens up a lot of new possibilities. It's very disinflationary, good for consumers. Stepping beyond logistics for 1 second, you're in the middle of this world of AI. You're watching everything going on in the tech world.
Yeah.
A very successful guy yourself in that world. Like, what else excites you that's going on? What else makes you optimistic?
I mean, robotics, I think is super interesting. I think finally we'll hopefully crack with AI, like really, mass use of robotics in the world. I think autonomous is super exciting. We're starting to see in Austin now, Teslas and Waymos and several other companies. I think autonomous trucks is super exciting. That's going to lower the cost as well. So there's just so much happening in the world of logistics. And I think we hope like Augment and companies like ours can like put all this change together, because this change cannot just happen in isolation, right? Like you will always have human drivers and you will have autonomous cars or trucks. How do you bring the two together? What do you give to what? How do you coordinate between the two? The problems get much more interesting as the word of like, sort of human powered and autonomous powered come together. I'm just so excited to build about this word because there's just so much happening here.
Well, you must be excited. You're one of the most successful entrepreneurs who already has all the money you need, but it's obviously a very fun job to be in the middle of this transformation. So thanks for joining us to talk about it today, Harish.
Thank you.